people with ADD is called central auditory processing deficit, where their brain has difficulty in interpreting what they hear somebody say, so that it gets mixed up in the wiring, and it takes them a lot longer to process the input of what they've heard, assimilate it, put it into storage for later recall, and then the output. It takes them longer to do this. And sometimes that's why it appears as if they're deliberately disobeying what they've been asked to do, because they don't understand what they were asked.
Okay, so maybe it's not running through the circuits as quickly.
That's correct.
Okay. We're going to need to take a break. When we return, we'll hear two stories of the effect of attention deficit hyperactivity disorder on adults. Stay tuned. Tell us about your personal experience with attention deficit disorder.
My personal experience with attention deficit disorder has gone back 15 years. My son is now 15 years old. He was diagnosed through several different testing methods to be severe attention deficit disorder, and now that he's older, they've switched it to the attention deficit hyperactive disorder. A couple years ago, I realized that I have ADD also, and my three daughters suffer from ADD. We each do it in different forms. My son, though, has brought about that realization. His life was unmanageable, uncontrollable. He did not handle public very well. He could not be by himself very well. He went through a lot of severe problems, and through his course in life, he's been on Ritalin. He was taken off Ritalin, and at one point when he was living with his grandmother, they took the depression that he went into as a severe depression and gave him Prozac and other medication, and it was mainly his concentration skills and the fact that he had no self-esteem that was causing him to be depressed. And so once we worked on that, we now have him back on Ritalin again. So
have you ever received have you ever received treatment for your ADD?
No. Through the process in my life, I've learned to work with it. As an adult, you can turn your ADD into a positive outlet, and once you reach that positive outlet and find out where your outlet is at, it is not disturbing to you anymore.
Thank you very much. Experience with attention deficit disorder.
Well, back in June of '94, I was diagnosed with it, and I was 29 years old at the time, and at that point I felt really relieved that there was something. I wasn't just completely whacked, and there was something that could be done for me, and I went on Ritalin, and it helped me achieve inner peace and a focus. But I noticed that all the other things that were wrong I have to work on, and I've had a real hard time accepting having a disorder and the feelings of being less than because I was born with something like this. And that's starting to go away as I learn to deal with it and work with it. But it was quite a blow to me to find out that there were certain things that I couldn't change about myself that I didn't like.
Like what?
Like the distractibility, the impulsivity, the inability to inhibit certain things I say at times. I really don't have any control over a lot of it, and it's just the lack of control that's really bothered me. But as I work through it and learn different tools and get on, I'm accepting it more and more.
Thank you very much. Okay, welcome back. Well, do you have any comments or any thoughts on what our students have shared?
Well, it seems to me, Mary, that the second example, I mean, this adult is talking about being impulsive. Also, he's talking about distractions. I think these symptoms are present there, they are sort of the core symptoms of ADD. In adults, we call this ADD-RT, which means attention deficit disorder residual type.
Okay.
And lots of times, because of the impulsivity, they may say things to their colleagues, to their peers, to their boss, to their spouse, to their children, which they don't mean, but impulsively these things come out, and then they have to face the bad consequences. And some people are fired from jobs, and keeping jobs with ADD as adults is not easy. A number of these adults have had lots of jobs. In terms of the impulsivity, also they will do things impulsively and then realize later that, gee, you know, whatever I did, I should not have done it. And these impulsive things could include like driving very fast, doing dangerous kinds of things. I have lots of patients who are adults who say, I cannot drive other than the fast lane. I have to drive 70 miles an hour, and so forth. And so their history is full of, you know, I got 10 traffic tickets. Because of that, along with the attentional difficulties, forgetfulness, distractibility, they have not been able to pay these traffic tickets, and so end up, you know, losing their license. They have the tickets get lost. So there's more disorganization being added on whatever it existed in the first place. And also, in terms of the distractibility, they may want to say something, but because in the circuits of the central nervous system, there are so many impulses going back and forth, makes them confused, anxious. Different nerve cells are not making very good connections, so they're not able to express themselves very clearly the point that they want to make. And so lots of times they may stutter, they may stumble, they may not be able to find the right word. They go in front of their boss, and boss says, tell me the reason why this did not happen. They know the reason, but the distractibility adds to the stumbling, and they may sound like as if, you know, they're dumb.
So, and it also sounds like that we may think faster than we may speak. Now, you explain some of the circuitry in the brain in your book, and I'll show it again, Out of Chaos. And you said you have some diagrams and, and descriptions of why the parts of our brain work the way they do.
Right.
Okay.
I have in here a few diagrams that basically explain the different main areas of the brain that are involved in this condition. This condition is genetic. It is a neurological condition. I should also add, Mary, that attention is a basic neurological function. We need attention for everything in our life, for studying, for talking, for making love. It could be anything. We name it. We need attention.
We need to pay attention.
And certain areas in the brain are affected in certain ways. And so that's where, that's why we have to sometimes, you know, we have to devise a treatment plan according to particular symptoms of the adult.
Okay. Now, Kitty, you've had extensive exposure to people
Yes.
with adults.
Yes, I get about 200 calls a week from parents, professionals, adults, looking for referral services, support services, and sometimes it's like a crisis line. I might talk 2 hours to a young person who's contemplating suicide to give him hope again, and help the parents in seeing that their legal rights and the responsibilities of the federal and state government are being met in providing their children with this disability a free, public, appropriate education in the least restrictive environment.
And in fact, you also offer, I believe, support groups
Yes.
for adults with attention deficit disorder?
Yes, I have 2 support groups a month, one for parents, educators, and healthcare professionals relating to children and teen issues, and a separate meeting specifically addressing the concerns of adults with residual attention deficit. And I also have the largest library on ADD in the Bay Area. It consists of over 450 books, pamphlets, reprints, audio cassettes, and videotapes. It's a multi-sensory library, so the people that have difficulty with reading can watch a tape or listen to a tape.
What a resource. Let's take another look at our symptoms again as we were reading through them. Let's see. Inattention may avoid, dislike, or be reluctant to participate in activities that require sustained mental effort, often loses things, is easily distracted by extraneous stimuli, often forgetful in daily activity. So it sounds like some of the things we were talking about before, that in many ways, maybe from the outside, we can look pretty scattered. In the sense that we're multitasks.
Yeah.
So
Or
maybe we've got this
daydreamer.
going on the phone, this going on the computer, this going over here, and to other people
Yeah.
it may look like chaos, but it may look like perfect sense
Right.
to the person who's actually orchestrating.
Well,
all
we're
those different
juggling
tasks.
24 balls all at once.
Yeah.
And we're stimulation seeking. We're looking for stimulation so that there is more blood flow to the brain. Research by Dr. Alan Zemetkin in 1990, he received a grant from the National Institute of Mental Health, and his findings were that there's actually 8% less glucose being metabolized to the frontal lobe section of the brain in people with attention deficit, and therefore the synapse can't make a proper connection. And also it's been shown through SPECT brain imaging done by Dr. Daniel Amen in Fairfield that when a person is trying to concentrate very hard and under pressure like a timed test, that their brain actually shuts off. When they're at rest, then their brain is getting more blood flow and they can do better academically. So I was diagnosed 2 years ago along with my adult son, and to find out at age 65 that I've been coping and managing with a chronic disability all my life was like being reborn. And I can remember in many conversations where I would try to recall someone's name, and the harder I tried, the less I could remember. And I would just say, well, when I'm not trying, I'll think of it. And like a light, as soon as I relax, it comes to me. Now this demonstrates what I said about the brain shutting off when you're under stress. And I feel that learning about my ADD has made it possible for me to reflect and look back on situations connected with my various careers and personal relationships, and in the light of ADD be able to better explain. Because one of the common things, as Sanjay said, is that it's very common that people with ADD have multiple job changes and multiple relationship changes. They're easily bored and they jump from one task to another, from one relationship to another, from one job to another.
So it sounds like, before we close, that probably a very helpful aspect for people with ADHD is to reduce stress in general. Because as you said, the more quiet we are sometimes, the better we can concentrate. Thank you for being with us tonight. Join us next week as we learn more about post-traumatic stress disorder. We'll find out next week how to better care for ourselves. I'm Mary Crocker Cook, and this has been Bay Area Psychology. Good night.